it was picked up as a very unique story because it was so relatable.
There's a lot of people, franchising comes last when you've grown to a certain scale. When did you guys decide?
Yeah. It takes a bit more than a garage when you look at the material science of it, and when you look at the actual engineering that went into it. So
to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today we got a very special guest, Felix Böck. He is the founder and CEO of ChopValue. It's a very, very interesting startup. So, there's no other way to say it, but you guys recycle chopsticks and turn them into usable products like desks and other products. Felix, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the space, and what made you decide to get into the area of chopsticks.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. And I was actually pretty excited for you to pronounce my last name today. So you did a great job. I have this little umlaut, the 2 dots on my O at the last name. So I was just excited to hear you introduce me. So I let you run into it. It's not a coolest pickup line to recycle chopsticks for a living, but I kind of just got used to not taking myself too serious, while solving serious problems in the circular economy. So, ChopValue, as you said, is a circular economy startup where we recycle chopsticks into beautiful new furniture. And given my background as a wood engineer, I think it just a few things fall into place, and that's how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, and just I want to give some statistics behind it, just to really solidify. Like, you guys are actually doing some quite amazing stuff. You have over 200 employees, 400 people working in headquarters, over 60 franchisee locations, which we're going to get into, and how the heck you created that. 75 million chopsticks recycled. So it's not a small business. You guys are actually doing some amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's just to make sure I fact check the stats for you. So we have around 40 people in our headquarters. It's pretty exciting to know that they all return home to their families and can tell them, I'm doing my part, and I'm taking tangible actions that every small step counts towards a more sustainable lifestyle. And yeah, the stats are mind-boggling. We throw out 100,000 chopsticks per day in Vancouver alone. So it's a resource stream that we shouldn't underutilize or neglect. And for example, we throw out 33 million chopsticks every lunch break in China. So it's really intense to understand that this has been until recently just seen as a linear, disposable raw material, and no one has ever done something with it. So yeah, it feels very fulfilling that we are tackling that problem.
That's amazing. And actually, before we dive into any of this further, I wanted to give you a little bit of a surprise. I know we didn't talk about it last time, but we start off every single episode, and I know I just briefly told you, but we start off every single episode with a shot of hot sauce. And I just want to know, do you have any hot sauce, or were you able to find anything?
Yeah, I almost canceled the meeting invite when I saw that, but I just grabbed some. Didn't know what I got into myself, so I put some of it on. Do I need to put more? I'm not sure how much I need.
Depends how spicy it is. I do want to start it off relatively hot, just to get you on the hot seat.
I don't trust it. The problem is I really don't know what it is. I don't trust the sauce. I found it in the back of the fridge as to make sure I'm coming prepared. But let's test it out.
Part of the reason why I started this podcast is I wanted to interview top marketers in different industries and figure out the secrets, like what really works and not the fluff, right? So, the questions I asked, I really want to dive into what works in your industry in terms of marketing. So we thought, some of the questions might be a little bit tough, a little hot. So if you, at any point you want to avoid a question, we'll just take another shot of hot sauce. And we'll, that's kind of the style, and that's what we're going to go for today. All right. Deal. So I got some Carolina Reaper. It's probably enough to make it hot, but not enough to kill me. So,
well, good luck. Cheers. Well, I just don't know why I'm doing this.
I don't know why I do this either. Whew.
I should have canceled the meeting.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh my God.
Should we make some brand placement? I have some bubbly here.
I have a Yeti glass of.
I'm a big fan. I like the brand.
Of coffee. Oh my God. It never gets easy. So in here is a Carolina Reaper. We're going to have to try it. You're in Vancouver, right? We'll meet up one day and I'll let you try this. It is brutal.
Yeah.
But okay, let's.
I don't know what I found in the back. It's a Chinese. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. I don't want to mess it up.
It's like Szechuan style, like Szechuan spicy.
Yeah. By a brand called Verka. No idea.
Okay.
It says premium quality, but we'll leave it like that.
Like that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's dive into it. Fascinating stuff. So your business model is a franchisee model where each location you do the recycling and also production, everything all in one house. Can you explain a little bit about how that works at ChopValue?
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah. So when we knew the idea works and we got pretty excited by the concept when we started, we thought how could we expand responsibly, and we wanted to make sure that all the other cities that we expand the concept into, we actually enable small business owners to own their own ChopValue microfactory. Okay. So this was really the foundation of why we chose franchising as a mode of expansion, just to do it in the most empowering, most enabling way for others to own their own business, but follow our standards. And that's, I think, what franchising is all about: setting really, really good examples, setting really good standards that work, and have others to follow it.
And so tell me how this works. If I wanted to be a new franchisee, what is required, and what kind of investments are required to get everything up and running?
Yeah. So if you, for instance, do you live in Vancouver as well?
I live in Vancouver. Yeah, downtown.
Yeah. So let's just imagine for a moment you're relocating to Toronto, and you want to open ChopValue Toronto. Then you would make your due diligence on the market size. You would want to understand what does ChopValue work in Toronto? Is there enough waste stream? Is there enough demand for product? And then you would fill out a due diligence form with us on the website to see if you're qualified to become a franchise partner. Because at the end of the day, you're becoming an extension of our team. We want you to represent our brand in your community. What you invest is a franchise fee upfront, that can range between $50,000 to $75,000, and we want you to invest into the microfactory as it is, as the machinery, as the equipment, as the assets, and that's around $250,000. And then you can run your own ChopValue system in that market for your local expansion.
All right, so it might be your first hot question. What would be like an ROI? Like if I were to invest in one of these things, do you have any stats that you can share of what a potential ChopValue franchisee can potentially make?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, and I'm trying to answer it a little bit more diplomatic, so I'm not falling for your seat question. So I think we needed to learn early on that we are listening to the small business owners, what their perception of success really is. So some of them maybe see this as $1 million business. Some of them see this as a multi-million-dollar business. So we need to manage the expectations because the investment is the same. So that determines then the ROI on your investment. So yeah, in our portfolio of partners, we actually have people that run the concept with 3 staff members, and we have franchise partners that run the concept with 15 staff members, and they have very, very different ROIs based on what success for them looks like.
And also the different markets will be, depending on which marketplace you enter, that would also be.
Yeah. I mean, imagine, comparing, let's say, Victoria, BC, with where the concept could work with a market like Singapore. So, Singapore is buzzing, and not only from the mountains of chopsticks that's coming in, but also from the product demand. So, yeah, you're right. It's the same concept. We try to standardize everything, that everyone gets treated the same, but they probably have a very, very different expectation of what they want to achieve in the local market.
Answer me this: what has been of all the 60 franchisees? What was the highest? What was the most best performing? You don't have to share the location, but what was the best performing?
Yeah, I would say still a North American location that will soon be, and it's in the US, and it will soon be outperformed by one of our locations in Asia.
Whoa, okay. So you don't have to take a hot sauce shot for that. So that was a good answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And it sounds like there's a lot required in order to get this whole thing set up. I know your background is in engineering and process development and everything, but was there a lot of investment that was required? And did you guys raise anything to get everything started?
Yeah, so I bootstrapped the business at the beginning because I wanted to prove the concept first, and then we looked at raising some capital to scale it and to get it off the ground. So we raised close to $5 million to date, and probably reinvest in the future to further fuel our growth. So I think it's just how the journey sometimes develops, and you see the opportunities and how you can grow and expand.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you another question about investments because I know it's going to lead to another hot sauce, and my mouth is burning already. So I really want to avoid that. But so the $5 million raise. At which point did you raise it? 2 years into the venture, or 3 years?
Yeah, so the first time we had some seed capital injection was after the first 2 years. That was just under $1 million, and then we reinvested a couple of seed rounds after. We even raised some capital during the pandemic to accommodate our growth, which was quite a unique opportunity thanks to our shareholders' support, and it really just shows where we have come. We didn't behave like a turtle and just waited out the crisis. We actually used it as an opportunity to fuel our growth.
So let's talk about the early days, right? You started this whole thing in 2016. You bootstrapped everything. What did it look like? Was it you in the back of your garage, or did you have a place where you can do all of the testing and creating the product?
It takes a bit more than a garage when you look at the material science of it, and when you look at the actual engineering that went into it. So I was a PhD student at UBC actually, and my very first intern, who also became founding partner, Hugh, he was running some tests in my lab, and one day I told him, we're now testing chopsticks because this seems like a crazy story, and I think this might lead to something, and this might work. And from there, the first prototypes, we very quickly, because we didn't want to take advantage of the facilities, we very quickly rented our first space in downtown Vancouver in a small shared workspace, which we outgrew after 2 months. And after 2 months in production, we actually moved into our very first commercial microfactory that is the same footprint as it is today.
So were you already
I try to stay true.
Were you already revenue generating when you found that downtown space?
Yeah, from day one, we wanted to make sure that every single product we produce generates revenue. And later, maybe 2-3 years in the journey of the business, I read a cool tweet. It said, if I probably can't quote it properly, but it said pretty much, if you're not launching at 80%, you launch too late.
Absolutely.
So it's that philosophy, right, where you need these small iterations, and where you need to perfect the products while it's on the market with your customers, with the feedback that you're getting, because that's paid marketing right there. It's like customers pay for your story. Those are the early adopters, and you can actually work with them much easier than the later stage customers. And these early adopter customers, they understand that you have taken a risk to launch this new initiative, to the story, to make it successful. And I think this was a really, really big thing for us, for that laid the path for success.
That's so important. I talked to so many successful founders, and they tell me the same thing. We actually spoke with a company recently that sells audio assisted technology, and he was able to close major partnerships with universities and McDonald's and big companies well before the final product was created. And he said that you use the term 80%, like 80% all the way through is when you should launch. He says that whatever the MVP you think is the market is ready for is probably I can't remember what he said, but it's like 2 or 3 times more than what is actually needed to launch. And so launch early.
Yeah.
Get a sense, get a pulse of what your target audience is thinking, and then build it alongside your target, your end users, right?
Same philosophies, right? I think if I would have heard to some of the advice early on of then we would have failed. I think and this sounds maybe a little bit unthankful, right? I think you have to be thankful for advice only to understand that you think differently, and that usually the people who give you advice early on, they are coming from a place of a conservative approach, and likely would not take the risk that you would to launch something from zero, because that takes a different vision, that takes a different capacity, and that's why I'm so glad I pushed this forward and just launched the story to where we are.
So
today.
You mentioned something interesting. You wanted to be revenue generating from the very beginning. So tell us about your very first sale. At which point did it come? And do you remember what you sold, what you created with the Chopsticks?
Yeah. So we had launched a one landing page website. And we launched 2 products. One was a starter set. That's this wall decor behind me. We initially called it the starter set, where you can mix and match your own designs, because you can place these hexagons wherever you want it. And that starter set we I think initially priced for like $149 a set of tiles and shelves, nicely put in a box. And the other product was a set of coasters. So, I thought as a German, everyone uses coasters. Turns out in North America, not many people use coasters. But we launched it because it was a product that worked from a production capability. And the very first order that came in, order 0001, was from a woman with an email address from CBC. So either a reporter or someone who works in the CBC office, after our first media piece came out through CBC. So someone picked up the story through UBC Media Relations, and our very first order came in from an email address from a woman from the CBC.
So you were able to get PR coverage before your first sale. How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, I think this was really a product of the exposure that I had through my academic career. I was working on many interesting projects for for the university, for some research institute. And there was a journalist at UBC who passed by the lab and asked me, "What are you working on?" And I showed him and told him the story. And he asked, "Hey, this is an interesting piece. We want to report on what students come up with." And it snowball affected from there. Like, wow. I think it really, it was picked up as a very unique story because it was so relatable. There was a nice video attached to it, and it really snowballed from there.
Wow! And you guys paid nothing for that as well.
To date, we have not paid for a single press release or media exposure. It's all earned media because we stayed true to our story, and we stayed true to building continuous news and momentum of the positive impact that we have as a brand.
Amazing. So let's dive into it, right? You got the one side of your business where you had to sell the products, and then you got the other side where you got to get the supply, collecting the chopsticks. We'll dive into the chopstick collection, but let's keep diving into selling the products. Media exposure was what got your foot in the door right in the beginning, got your first customer. What allowed you to grow from one order to, let's say, your first 100 orders? Was it always PR, or was there other things that you did? Did you do paid ads? Did you do SEO? Did you do other stuff? What other channels helped generate growth for you guys?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think just by you asking it, it makes me realize how lucky we actually are. Lucky meaning it's such a powerful story that almost carries itself. Probably carries itself to a point where even you found us, and we are talking today for this podcast, where from this very first media exposure that turned into a first sale, to the invitation to actually showcase our first prototypes at the Interior Design Show in Vancouver. That was just happened like 2 or 3 weeks later. That was the first visual experience where people actually touched and felt the product, and then it went with an increasing speed and pace into publications like Design Milk, Sewer Magazine, Western Living, Vancouver Sun. So those are all the local ones. And then it catapulted from the local media exposure to outlets like Al Jazeera, BBC.
So this was
and
all
others.
In the first,
and that was
6
really
months, right?
All the first 6 months, And I was struggling, giving interviews. I was struggling giving like the messaging that wasn't really predefined. I was just trying to stay as true as possible and transparent as possible of what do we want to accomplish. We want to turn waste into resources, one chopstick at a time. And we want to redefine the term waste into a luxury product or premium product to show people that this should not be thrown out. So we just stay true to what we can do without really telling people, we are the best or we are the sustainability ambassador. No, we just want to lead by example in one chopstick at a time. And we stay true to that.
So the momentum just never slowed down. Like companies and publications reach out to you, and you don't have a PR person in-house or anything?
That's correct. Yeah. So to the surprise of some of the investors who gave me a really hard time, in year 3 or so, I remember a call where they said, "Felix, just tell us, like, how is your sales organization structured? How do you get the inbound leads? How do you manage your team?" And I kind of looked at myself and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, like they're saying, so where's the sales coming from? I'm like, I don't know. It's just like we get, we tell our story. I'm giving a talk. I'm trying to, present ourselves in the most authentic way possible. And this has really brought us, at least at the startup stage, to a certain level of success where people believe that we have built a foundation that we now can professionalize our approach to marketing and sales. Today, it's different. Right? Today, we are operating at different scale. Today, we have a more focused way of building partnerships, relationships. We're more strategic about it. But the earned media piece is something that is truly exciting to us, and I think you can't artificially reproduce or force it. I don't think so.
Okay, so you guys got, I'm just going to summarize the different channels. You got earned media, you got partnerships, you got franchisees. Any other, do you spent $0 on ads, on advertisements?
Mhm. That's correct, yeah.
Do you do other stuff? Okay,
Yeah.
so you also mentioned trade shows. Is that also another one of the channels for you guys? Just going to the different, different types of trade
Yeah,
shows?
we wanted to, after we had some initial success with the interior design show, we launched, almost like a plan and a budget for 2020 to visit 6 or 7 trade shows, and we didn't visit one.
Wow.
Because everything turned virtual, and so we kind of scratched that plan again, and we had to get creative once again on how to get our message out. And I think with a product business, that is not a software business. Software businesses, I think you're successful in running demos. We are successful in literally just sending a letter, a handwritten letter with our beautiful coaster inside that tells a story and tells people, look, we'd like you to be part of this. Consider our climate positive material for your next project, or let's collaborate on the next product launch, because this is a local sourced, locally produced, and locally designed product from your community, and we want to scale this with you.
Wow, that's amazing. And at which point of your business lifespan did you decide we want to start franchising? Because a lot of people, franchising comes last when you've grown to a certain scale. When did you guys decide?
Yeah, it's a good point. I remember, I was part of this like a small accelerator cohort in the first year in the business. That was like a 4 months group for social impact driven companies. And I remember the very first session, I told them I want to franchise now. And they're like, I mean, you shouldn't, you need to first nail your concept and then scale it. I'm like, no. Like, we need to franchise this. Like, I documented every single step of the process in order to franchise and scale it. So I kind of knew that we need to scale it through a model like franchising. And I quite frankly don't know where that thought was coming from. But I think we got really lucky to surround ourselves with the right advisors and the right directors early on. We have Brian Curran on our board. He's the founder of Little Kitchen Academy. They are, I would highly recommend you to chat with him. He's an incredible, inspiring brand and marketing genius. And he has grown every brand he touched to, 1,000+ locations. And when he walked into our microfactory the first time, he told me, Felix, if you're doing this right, you're onto something. And I took his word for it. That's the one encouraging word I needed out of the 99 other no's that I knew I need to grow this concept.
Wow. And so now you guys have grown to just 60+ different locations. Just so much good stuff happening right now. So right now, what's next for ChopValue? What are you guys focusing on over the next 6 to 12 months? Is it just continuing to get more franchisees, or is there another play, another business revenue model or revenue stream that you guys are going to be focused on?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Simon, because you can go only that far with franchising until you realize that you also want to grow into some key markets yourself with corporate locations to, where you feel like you have a really good understanding or really good connection to. And we're looking in this hybrid expansion model where we own a few corporate locations and own a few franchises to really maximize our impact and our success.
Yeah. What if you created a museum, a chopstick museum, and you can go in and you can shop, and it's also the headquarters? That sounds interesting.
I know. And I what I would love to put in that museum is the first Craigslist pickup van and the first press that we have built, the first prototypes, maybe maybe in a small box we can put our first full-time employee.
Yeah, do that. Put
full-time employee.
Yeah, do that. Put him in there. Yeah, or like a huge pile of 33 million chopsticks, and be like, this is how many chopsticks are used in China per day, and it's like goes all the way up to the top. Like, I'd go there to buy things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good idea. I'll take your inspiration for it.
We'll see. Okay, so we talked a lot about the sales side, the marketing side. We didn't really dive into the franchisees. How do you get these franchisees? You got 60 plus now. How did you get them? What was the marketing? What was the messaging behind that? Is it more outbound? I assume it's more outbound, but I don't know. You get a lot of press, PR help as well. So it's a lot of inbound as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, more people spend time like inside and like time on their computer actually reading stuff. And I think these additional 30 seconds of attention span really was a big advantage for our franchise model to grow, because we allowed people to read more content. So we focused the website on more franchising, and we the messaging was, bring local manufacturing into your community, or be part of a movement where we turn your local waste into beautiful premium products. And then it was a combination of inbound and outbound. I have a lot of connections in my professional network that I knew at some stage of the company, I can reach out to them and ask them if they want to take this on to their country. But we have tons of inbound requests of people who just want to be part of it. And we need to vet them. We need to go through the due diligence, and we need to understand what their motivation is to join us. So we have daily requests from all over the world of people who want to start a ChopValue.
So how large is the franchisee team under ChopValue? Is that just like 20 members, 15
so
members?
Our corporate, around 15. So we call it the corporate back office, that actually deals with all the support mechanisms, the training, the sales and marketing enablement tools, technical support, training sessions in person and virtual. So we really work for our franchise partners' success.
Wow, amazing. Well, I think that does it. I mean, if we were just kind of last summary, like, what do you? So your keys to marketing basically have the right messaging, the right branding, and focus on the good, and the focus on the story. And for you, that is what drove most of the success, right? Or is there anything else that I'm missing?
Yeah, no, and make sure that you get your product into people's hands, no matter how, because that was the difference maker for us, right? I think you want to understand, what is your wow moment. If someone finds your company or looks at your company or finds your product, what is the impression you want them to feel and see? Do you want them to tell their friend that stands next to them, I love their branding? Or do you want to tell their friends, you need to feel this, look how heavy this is, or look how it, how touch it or something, So we really we need to tap into people's emotions, not to trick them to purchase, but to actually convince them of our value propositions.
Yeah, that's another piece that we didn't touch upon, was actually the technical behind how you turn these chopsticks into products. And it looks like, I'm looking at behind you, behind the screen on the wall, it looks like it's very high quality products. And really that was your background, was product, right? That's really what you focus
exactly
on.
So it really, you need to put the most complex engineering into the most simple procedures if you want to scale it. And I think this is what we're doing so well.
Well, Felix, thank you so much for joining us, and we're excited on all the success that you've had, your local company, 60 plus locations. We're excited for the next time we talk. Maybe we'll grab some hot sauce. We'll eat some hot sauce, and we'll talk some more in a little bit and hear more about all the successes.